Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. Today's guest is Barnett Wright. He's somewhat of a regular on our show. I'd say at least once a year,
Right.
sometimes more than that. He's chief executive editor of Birmingham Times Media Group and operates a really finely tuned publication that is available. Is it available in paper form as well
Yes,
as
available in
electronic?
paper form. It's print and
God
electronic.
bless you
Yes.
for being old school.
I love that. I'm a fan of print, magazines, newspapers. Whenever I travel, I see newspapers, I pick them up.
Now, we always want to talk about Birmingham when we're together,
Yeah.
but while we're here,
Mhm.
what happened to me waking up in the morning with my bathrobe, getting my newspaper, and getting a cup of coffee and killing an hour?
Well, I mean, the way media has gone,
And we're talking what, 10 years, 20 years?
right, not long ago, digital has killed all of that because when people wake up now is they get their phones and they see what's on their phones and many people, well, I shouldn't say that, some people never put the phones down. They're on their phones for the rest of the day. So when people have that option, and you know that's where many people are getting their news from and getting their information from, then that puts the newspapers, the print editions, in the crosshairs.
To further encourage that behavior, the media piece side of that, which you just described, is able to see in real time what's going on with what they have put out there.
Correct.
Not on the print edition, but on the electronic edition.
Right.
So y'all are reacting to it, I suppose. If you see something getting a lot of hits, I mean,
Yeah.
don't you have that capability?
Well, yeah. So you have the algorithms. Okay, you have the page views, and you can tell in real time who's reading what. But
Is that unbelievable?
yeah.
It's scary, unbelievable.
Yeah,
to me.
but what's scary is that what are you putting out to get people to read? Some of it is clickbait, right? You can come up with some salacious or scandalous headline, and you know people are going to click, 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 and some people has become addictive for some because they know if you put something outrageous out, that you'll get people to click on it. So the quality of what's being put out is diminished because if you talk about, let's say, a high school student in Birmingham who has a full ride Ivy League scholarship, that's not going to get as many clicks as if there was a shooting at the school of that same student.
Well, I will say this for Birmingham Times, and no disrespect to my friends at other places.
Mm-hmm.
You report stories that are stories and that are more often than not those things you just described.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
That is correct. And again, I don't want to be critical again of anybody
No.
because I support all local media.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I'm a friend of media. Media has been good to me.
Yes.
I've been good to them. So it takes that to get the public's awareness level to what's going on. But if people want to see what's going on in city government with more of a deep dive, I mean, your publication seems to address that more than other publications, at least in my opinion.
I appreciate you saying that, and we're targeted in our information. So those stories that come out of City Hall, we try to put emphasis on. Some stories coming out of the Jefferson County, we try to put an emphasis on. So you know, we have a very focused, targeted goal of what we want to report on, what we want to write on, and we want to pride ourselves on being hyper Birmingham. We want to focus on hyper Birmingham, not just City Hall, but the neighborhoods, the communities,
and not Greater Jefferson County as much either.
No,
It's really, as you put it, hyper Birmingham.
that's correct. That's correct. And there's stories, outside of the city that we will cover on, but it's kind of rare.
If someone wants to go there, tell them how to get to your site.
Yeah, it's www.birminghamtimes.com.
Okay.
So we're there.
And it's a paid subscription, I suppose.
It's free. It's free. You can get it for free.
Even better.
Yes, even better. Just check it out and go back, look at the archives and see the kind of stories we have. We have a landing page where we have, the news up front. We have a business tab, business section. We also have a thing we call Happy and Hello. We have married couples, where they talk about their love stories. It's called Love Stories. So we have that.
Newly married couples?
Some of them have been newly married, Judge, and some people have been married. We've had one couple who has been married 60 years, 70 years. So it varies. But the stories are always entertaining on how they met, the turn, the proposals, the weddings. And we have a little section called Happily Ever After about what they're doing subsequent to the marriage.
Yeah, my mother gave me and my brother some advice many moons ago about how to keep a marriage intact for a long time, but I'm not allowed to say it on air. It would be bleeped.
Well,
so I won't. It was very wise.
Yeah, I've learned from firsthand knowledge that a happy wife makes a happy life.
That's an understatement. This is Our Issues Birmingham. We're going to take a short break and we're going to talk about some things that are really going on in the city of Birmingham as we speak. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham, talking with Barnett Wright with Birmingham Times Media Group. So specifically, as you know, we have an election coming up in August.
Yeah.
We got off schedule with the national elections a few years back so that we wouldn't get things confused. So
Yeah.
what's your feelings and overview from a 50,000 foot vantage point of how that's going, what that looks like, who's got their hat in the ring, who's a viable candidate? Is Mayor Woodfin still got a stronghold in spite of 150 some odd homicides that he's personally not responsible for, but seems to take a hit on a lot?
Yes. So right now, there are two candidates, I think, that getting most of the oxygen. Okay, it's Woodfin and Gavan. Wandling Gavan, state rep, incumbent Woodfin. So you talked about the homicides. I'm gonna get to that in 1 second. Here's another challenge that he's facing. The last time a Birmingham mayor won a third term was probably Arrington about 40 years ago.
I got to interview him, by the way.
Yes.
Fascinating man.
Absolutely icon, brilliant man.
Still got it together.
Still has it together. Chemistry degree from Miles College. Just brilliant man. He was the last person to win 3 straight mayoral elections in Birmingham. Kincaid tried it, and he lost to, I believe it was Langford. Bell tried it. He lost in 2017 to Woodfin. Okay. So now Woodfin is going for his third try. Okay. So he'd have to do something that hadn't been done in almost 40 years. Talked about the homicides. When Representative Gavan announced, that was her big thing. She had a big sign of all the victims who had been killed last year. and she made it clear that she would be running on homicides, on the record number of homicides. That's A. B, she's also run on staffing in the police departments. She believed that's been a huge failure on the part of the mayor, that he hasn't had enough staffing to help prevent or curb or reduce some of these crimes. So to answer your question, you got two main candidates, Woodfin and Gavan, and the main issue would be crime.
Anybody else? And there's one other person out there?
Well, Kamal Africa, a community activist, has announced.
Okay.
And I think some people are wondering, if LaShonda Scales, who ran last time, will announce. But time is running short.
I was going to say, when is the drop dead date for?
Yeah, I think you have to file sometime, maybe June, July.
You file your paperwork.
Yeah, but keep in mind, even if you wait until then, Gavan and Woodfin already have they have a jump on it.
A running start.
They have a running start, right?
Speaking of the homicide rate and the police factors, I have noticed that I think the mayor, Woodfin, is aware of the shortcomings in the Birmingham Police Department and has publicly announced incentives, retentions to new academy graduates to try to close the gap. On the other hand, Representative Gavan has complained publicly that the numbers that we're getting aren't accurate and that we really don't know how many police officers we have. Do you have an opinion on where that dispute falls?
So,
and do you agree with me that current Mayor Woodfin is aware of the issues that are going to be targeted the most at him?
He's too smart to not know. Okay? I mean, he hears about it, he reads about it, people tell him about it. He has tried to address the staffing shortages, I think, and I have to look at the exact number. I think there was a $16 million investment to recruit and make changes and additions to the police department. So, yes, he's aware of it. I think he's tried to address it. The questions that some would have is, what exactly are the numbers? I think the city could have done a better job rolling out how many vacancies there were, because you heard or saw several different numbers initially. So I think that's something that I think would help if there was a concrete set number of how many police officers are on the force and how many vacancies there are and how many officers are needed. I mean, if you get that out there, I think that would allay some of the criticisms.
Yeah. Where I think people get sideways is they see the number of, and other media reporting agencies particularly, they report the number, and the number's high.
The number of what?
Homicides.
Okay.
Because overall, violent crime is down in Birmingham.
Right.
Homicides are not.
Right.
So if we just carve homicides out and put it in its own little box, we now have a person charged, presumed to be innocent, represented by a lawyer friend of mine, with I think 18 of these 150 some odd homicides.
Yeah.
We also have a very small group of people that are involved in these homicides. So I'm at home, me and you get in an argument. We could be family, we could be co-drug dealers, we could be whatever we are, but the resolution is for me to just shoot you in the house.
Right.
And I don't think you can police that.
Right. You can't, but
you could have 1,000 police officers, and that would not change.
Right. So I have a longer response to that, but I know we're coming up on a break. So is it possible for me to get that when we come back?
Yeah,
Okay.
do that.
All right.
This is Our Issues Birmingham. We're going to take up a short break and go back to that issue and then close up with something else that we want to talk about that's positive. Don't go away. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. We were speaking about the homicide rate, and Barnett was about to share with us some thoughts he had that we didn't have time to go into. So take it from there.
Yeah. So you raised several good points. One, if you look at all the crime categories, homicides are far more prevalent than the other homicide, than the other crimes, right? So when you look at homicides, that's the one most people pay attention to. Okay, so robberies are down.
Clickbait.
That's part of it. Right.
You said it.
That's going to get the headlines. You're absolutely right about that. And not just the homicides, but if somebody's wounded or shot, you know what I mean? They don't have to die, okay? But there seems to be an appetite for anything crime related. So you're going to have that. The other point that I would make is that, the murders are just a small part of what's happening in the communities. I would say 95% of people in Birmingham are doing what's right. They're doing positive things. This is the lane that the Birmingham Times tries to fill, is because we want to talk about those positive stories, right? So you have 90% of
the success of Birmingham Promise, for example.
Right.
The graduating classes, the programs that our youth are engaged in, who are caught up in the juvenile justice system,
right,
where we're trying to get them restored, is the program I'm talking about.
Right. The small businesses where you have a young lady who has a very successful nail salon.
Yeah.
You have some small business advertising agencies, public relation agencies. Rashida Leroy is one who's a very successful agency, events management planning agency. So there's stories like that out there. So that's what we're trying to reach. So yes, you talk about police, you talk about what's happening in the communities. To your point, if a husband and wife get into an argument and a homicide occurs, okay, the police doesn't have anything to do with it. Here's the other bigger problem, is that there are these crimes in neighborhoods and communities. People know who did it.
And don't talk.
They don't tell anybody. They're silent. So that's almost in situations where they're aiding and abetting the criminals because you know who did it, but you won't say anything.
Well, you got, as a lawyer, you have evidentiary issues when you just say you know who did it, because you got to have a basis for that knowledge. And what you know is what you heard, saw, your senses. So what somebody said that somebody said ain't gonna get it in a courtroom.
But we have very smart detectives, and if you can give them a name, okay, they can go piece those things together.
Oh, it's a puzzle, yeah.
They can piece it together to find out if the word on the street is accurate. Some of it may be hearsay. I agree with you, okay? But if you can give them evidence, and we have, I believe, Crime Stoppers.
We have Spot Shotter, which is after the fact. We have Crime Stoppers. We have all kinds of cameras everywhere.
But Crime Stoppers say you can anonymously give tips, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you give a tip, okay, and then they know how to flesh it out, how to find out, how to bring the individual who committed the crime to justice.
Yeah.
But if you don't call, if you don't share the information, you'll never know.
So bottom line there is, citizens, if you know something, say something, because it's dreadfully important to help reduce the number for all of our sakes, whether you live in Birmingham or outlying areas or suburbs. Now,
And it's for our sakes and safety, okay? Because if this individual committed a crime over here, it may at some point have an impact on your family. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
on a positive note,
Okay.
we have something coming to Birmingham that's pretty big.
Yes.
And I know, being involved with the airport, that we're ramping up for it.
Yeah.
And it's called
The police fire World Games.
World Games.
Yeah. So I think it's sometime in June, I believe, July, and that we had the World Games here a couple of years ago, but the police and fire games has a chance to be even bigger because from around the globe, and this is very, very, very competitive.
Well, you know, the World Games took a little bit of a hit because it didn't make a lot of money and not as many people showed up as they thought.
Right.
But I think this possibly is bigger than the World Games were.
I think so, and I think it has the opportunity to bring even more money in because you know with the World Games that they housed the athletes for free, right? They had them at Birmingham Southern when it was open. It was at UAB. They housed them at the dormitories. The police and fire World Games is they have to pay for these rooms, so the rooms will not be free. I think it also brings economic development because you know the sales that goes out. I mean the sheer number of athletes. The athletes, but police and firemen coming in here
And their families.
and their families, absolutely, has a chance to bring in from an economic development perspective millions of dollars.
Yeah, and this will be going on all over the city, so it won't just be Protective Stadium.
Absolutely
It'll
not.
be Crossplex and all the other spots that are available
Yeah.
for whatever they do. I don't know what they do
Right.
or what kind of sports they're involved in, but I imagine it's a lot of heavy testosterone-oriented things.
I was going to put it this way. You will find very few people as competitive as law enforcement.
That's an understatement.
Yes.
Well, let's leave it at that.
Okay.
And let's call it a show and a
Okay.
wrap. We got a lot more to talk about, but we'll have to do it on another occasion.
And I will look forward to it.
All right. Thanks for being
Okay.
with us.
Thanks for having me.
This is Our Issues Birmingham. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next Sunday.